How's it going, Dungeoneers? It's Luke here, and welcome to a brand new video, where today we're going to be doing an updated guide for PvE on the Awakening Mystic. Now, why play Awakening Mystic, you may be asking yourself? Well, as of right now, with current tests, it is pulling very similar trash loot per hour compared to Succession. However, that being said, the Awakening Mystic, at least in PvE, is a load tankier than Succession Mystic, so if you're just looking for something a little chill and relaxing, she is definitely the class for you. On top of that, because of her HP sustain, which is pretty insane, you can actually go to higher end grind spots earlier as long as you have the damage, because you are so tanky that you can survive almost anything. On top of that, in PvP, she is an absolute tank, and you can survive fights that you otherwise wouldn't have been able to. However, that being said, if you are looking to run around and frag out in those PvP large scales, you're probably going to want to play Succession. Awakening, unfortunately, is missing a little bit of damage when it comes to her PvP, but if you're like your boy here and you're only interested in grinding, getting drops, getting money, getting gains, Awakening is the way you're going to want to go. So, just like my 2021 pre-reboot guide, we're going to be going over your skill add-ons, what skills to use, which ones are worth leveling, which ones aren't, what to get if you're maybe low on skill points, and finally, what order to use everything in to make sure that you are doing a ton of damage and having a great time grinding. Last but not least, as usual, guys, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button if this video helped you out. And hey, if you want to hang out with your boy and watch some Mystic grinding for hours on end, why not check out my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/DungeoneersTV. We're live sometimes. I don't really have a set schedule yet, but hey, who knows? Maybe in the future, I'll be able to do it a lot more. So without further ado, let's get into the guide. Alright guys, now in my opinion, the best way to start off a guide is to talk about the skill add-ons. This kind of lets you know what you need to be doing in what order, because you want to layer your add-ons correctly. You don't want to have overlapping add-ons unless, for example, it's getting towards the end of a cooldown. There's certain things you want to keep up all the time. There's certain ones that are less important. But most importantly, guys, the main thing I want to instill into you is everybody has a different playstyle. Everybody has different skills they like using. So don't just follow this like it's absolutely set in stone. Set your add-ons based on how you play the game, what skills you like to use, and just make sure they make sense. Outside of that, these is going to be a nice little baseline for you guys. So we're actually going to talk about Rapid Stream first, because it's actually the first thing we use in the combo. So Rapid Stream is your shift LMB. We're going to go extra AP against monsters and attacking casting speed. I find that if you don't have an attack speed buff up on the Mystic at all times, as well as her spacebar one, which we'll get into in a little bit, she starts to feel a little bit clunky. So I find that having permanent attack speed buffs on her really makes her feel lightning quick, super responsive. Without this, a lot of people have complained to me that they find Awakening Mystic feels kind of slow and clunky. I believe having this on there sort of gets rid of that. And Rapid Stream is the first skill you actually start with. So whenever you're about to start some combo, you always start off with Rapid Stream. You get your AP against monsters and your attack casting speed. You're then going to follow it up with Tidal Burst. This is your shift RMB. Now, this skill can actually be swapped out for anything else if you like. There are tons of skills you could put it on. For example, you could put a skill on Earth Splitter, which is a skill that we use quite a bit. Sea Burial, Dragon Strike. It's really down to what you guys want to do. I just find that because I use Rapid Stream as on every single one, where is it? Why is it not letting me? So because I use Tidal Burst at the beginning of every combo, I find that it is the best one to use. And I'm doing a classic accuracy up, evasion down debuff. Now this is only at tier 1. But even though this is only tier 1, this is going to give you a 6% accuracy buff against monsters, because you're increasing your accuracy by 3% and lowering their evasion by 3%. That is a 6% increase in your accuracy against them. If you're really high accuracy, obviously if you're crazy high accuracy, you're probably not going to need a Mystic guide unless you're just tagging her from an already high-end character. You could probably swap this out for something else. That's completely up to you. You could even do, for example, some extra down attack damage for perhaps you're grinding some Star's End. You could do whatever you want. I mean, it's not a big deal just because it is a tier 1 add-on. So I find the best thing you could do for a tier 1 add-on would be the extra accuracy. You can never have enough accuracy. You can never have enough hit rate, guys. It's always good to have. Next up, we have Wave Orb. This Wave Orb is our only really good tier 3 add-on because it is a main part of our combo. It normally is a slow sort of charge up ability, but because we can cancel it with whatever skills we're using, it's really good to use. So I use AP against monsters and attack casting speed. Again, I want to keep up that attack speed buff so it feels quick, it feels responsive, and AP against monsters, it's fantastic, right? This is super strong. You could change this to human damage, for example, if you're grinding maybe Abandoned Monastery, Bloody Monastery. Either or, if you're grinding a human damage spot, you may switch this out to human damage if you really like. However, this is what I've been using. It works really well. Spiral Torpedo. Spiral Torpedo is a super important skill because it gives you 16 AP when you use it. It lets you go through monsters, and it actually does okay damage. And I have critical hit damage and back attack damage on it. This is because you're going to use these main skills here to pull not to pull monsters, but to start your combo on monsters, get them debuffed and get some damage on them. Then you're going to Spiral Torpedo behind them and start doing your DPS combo. So having bonus critical hit damage and bonus back attack damage, super strong, just feels like you do an absolute massive damage spike. Again, if you're doing a lot of Stars End or areas where you can knock the mobs down, maybe switch this out to down attack damage, but again, that's going to be up to your discretion. Rising Dragon. This is a skill that I never really used a lot when I first started playing Awakening Mystic because it didn't feel very strong. Mainly just because of how like the actual skill looks when you use it. This is actually our second hardest hitting skill besides Wave Orb. Rising Dragon is pretty much your huge burst skill in the combo besides Wave Orb. So this is really important. It gives DP minus because of its actual dragon effect. You get minus 20 DP on Sea Dragon hits, which you're always going to be doing. And we add an additional minus 15 and 20% critical hit rate. So this gives you a minus 35 DP debuff, or sorry, a minus 30 DP debuff. No, it is 35, yeah. Minus 35 DP debuff and 20% crit hit rate on the monsters right before you do your big DPS combo. And then Gushing Waters. This is a skill that I mainly use for pulling. It is a ranged ability that can be hotbarred, very quick, very short cooldown. So you can pretty much factor it in whenever. We got this skill during our reboot, but I mainly use it to pull. So again, I know it has the same skill add-on effect as Rising Dragon, but because I use it to pull, you can never have enough DP minus, you can never have enough crit, right? Might as well have it on. You could do something like if you're doing an area where it really relies on your pulling, you could maybe add a bleed to this because putting a bleed or a damage over time on your ranged abilities that you're using for pulling allows you to actually overstack the amount of monsters that are aggro to you at one time. I've been using a lot at Histria, for example, and it's really convenient there. But again, these are not set in stone. These are something for you guys to use as a baseline and then change it up throughout your time that you're playing the Mystic. Like again, Tidal Burst, this is a preference thing. You could pretty much make this whatever you like. Same with Gushing Waters. I like Gushing Waters a lot. I spam it all the time. Very useful skill. All right, and with that being said, guys, let's get into the actual combo so you can see how these skills all work together and how we're going to destroy these monsters. All right, guys, let's go over what skills you need, which ones you don't really need to focus on, especially if you're low skill points. However, if you are very low skill points, I highly recommend that you head over to Polly's Forest and basically just use your Shift LMB, Shift RMB, and dashes, and you can pretty much grind up skill points pretty quick. That being said, let's get into the skill tree. So, first off, obviously you want your passives. Your passives on Mystic give you a lot of tankiness. It gives us DP minus on every level of it. Infinite Mastery gives us HP, and then obviously the global 2% accuracy buff when it's maxed out. And Skilled Hunter gives you AP against monsters. These ones here are automatically leveled up. We have a bonus 10% evasion rate, which is why you want to go evasion on Mystic when you're, if you know when you want to go evasion and when you don't. That's a whole conversation for another video, but Mystic does very well with evasion because you have a bonus 10% to all evasion. And obviously our Mountain Aura gives us DP minus as well. This is why Mystic is so tanky. That, as well as your crazy HP sustain from a skill we'll talk about later. You're also going to want Crouching Wolf with Flow Prey Hunt. This is your main aggro skill and also an attack speed buff. So as you can see here, guys, if I were to dash, for example, all the way over here and then press spacebar, it would still aggro those monsters all the way over there. It doesn't look like it has a high AoE range, but as you can see, the damage actually hit it, and the aggro is a little bit longer than that. So it is a massive AoE aggro skill, and it's also an attack speed buff. That being said, this skill is a liar, a filthy liar, and I'm going to explain to you why. Make sure you're paying attention. Now, this only applies to Awakening, but as you can see here, it says the number of targets and attack area increased while using Thunder Pound and Rage Hammer are increased. Okay, so basically, if you're using a certain pre-awakening skills, this will give you increased attack range. That doesn't matter when you're playing Awakening. However, the pre-version, before version, I don't know what it's called, Crouching Wolf basically gives you a 20% attack speed buff if you use it when you have 3 spirit shards. So if we were to generate all our spirit shards up here and press spacebar, we have now a 30% or a 20% attack speed buff. However, the reason this is a lie is note that it says the 20% attack speed buff is only for 10 seconds. However, when you look at the hotbar, it's going to say 30 seconds. And that's because your flow prey hunt gives you the 30 seconds of increased attack range on your pre-awakening skills, but the attack speed only matters for 10 seconds. Now, you still want the prey hunt version because it's going to increase the AoE of your pull, but make sure that you know that you're trying to use this every 10 seconds, not every 30, so you can keep up your attack speed buff. On top of that, we have Flash Step. This is very simply a dash. This is our Mystic Dash. We can dash a bunch of times. You can dash up to a couple times. I think it's 2 or 3 times. And then after that, it's going to start consuming your spirit shards. However, it also gives us a 20% move speed buff. Okay, super great dash skill. Flash Step, super great. Level it up as much as you can. On top of that, Silent Step, basically the same thing as Flash Step, but it's sideways. Again, you are iframed during this skill, which is the reason why it costs Martial Spirit Shards. When you consume a Martial Spirit Shard, it is a super armor, and it is an invincible when you don't consume one. That's why they did it this way, so you don't just spam in iframes 24/7. Don't do it. But this isn't used crazy often in PvE, but it is used enough that I think it's worth maxing it out. Outside of that, everything else is kind of irrelevant in here. I have an extra point in flow mass or absolute flow mass destruction. This is your sideways RMB, which I do use to reposition quite often. You can also spam it if you hit an enemy. So I use it sometimes to get around the packs. Like if I'm at a place where the mobs are slow, think like your Hystria or your Star's End, I might like aggro up some mobs here, gather them all up, and then while they're walking, just kind of spam this to get around them. And while you're doing it, it is giving you a 6% accuracy buff. Oh, how did that pop up? Hello, sir. I did not mean to have that on. Weird. So it will also give you a 6% accuracy buff. Again, you can never have enough accuracy. You can never have enough attack speed. Just a repositioning skill, but if you have the extra points, throw it into mass destruction. Everything else here is pretty much irrelevant for PvE, at least that I've found. Maybe if you're a crazy endgame, you want to put some points into more of these, but you don't need to, is what I'm saying, okay? So let's get into the Awakening Tree. First off, Dragon Eyes. This is your E buff. It's actually our shift E buff. It gives you 500 HP, 20 AP, 20 DP, 30% attack speed, 30% all resistance, and super armor while moving and sprinting. Dragon Eyes is a crazy buff. Okay, this buff is actually one of the best E buffs in the game. I absolutely love this skill. It feels so good having that 30% attack speed for 30 seconds. You just feel like an absolute monster. Tons of damage, gives you a heal. It's everything you could possibly want on Mystic. Tranquility. This basically is just an instant recover your WP and recover your Martial Spirit Shards. 40-second cooldown, which is kind of like insane. I don't know if it's just me, but that feels really long for being, you know, you can recover your Spirit Shards. Like, for example, if I were to cast, you know, Sea Burial, and I'm like, oh no, I need Spirit Shards. You could just hold down Shift RMB and get them back that quickly. I feel like 40 seconds to instantly refill them is kind of long. I don't know. I feel like that needs a little bit of a buff, but again, I mean, you can use it if you really need to. I never really need to use it. I just have it for the sake of having it. Your Elvia skill, it's pretty solid. I like it. Elvia skills are kind of weird though. I mean, you get it automatically given to you anyway. You can only use it when with a weapon. It is cool though. Good range. It's basically very similar to a Wave Orb, but ranged. It's fun. Infinite Fortitude. This is pretty much a PvP exclusive skill. It basically makes you a big tank for a couple seconds. You press it, you just become not invulnerable, but you get 60% damage reduction, and it lingers for 3 seconds afterwards. Not anything worth using in PvE, but I have it in case anybody, you know, rolls up on me and tries to surprise me. Very convenient if somebody like attacks you out of nowhere. You can just kind of spam it off the hotbar, get your bearings, sort of figure out what's going on, and then go attack them. But let's talk about the real skills, the skills that everyone's talking about. So first off, we're going to talk about Tidal Burst. This is your Shift RMB. This skill doesn't look like it does a ton of damage, but this skill hits like a truck, okay? 1128 times 4 3 times, and then 1128 times 4 for the last hit. It has 65% critical hit rate and gives you 50 HP per hit. This is the reason why this skill does so much for you when it comes to tankiness. Really struggled to spit that sentence out there. This is one of the main reasons you're so tanky. You get 50 HP per hit and you basically hit 16 times. Okay, so you're getting a massive amount of HP. It's nullified during the cooldown, but the cooldown is only 3 seconds. On top of that, this skill does a ton of damage, okay? I know a lot of classes have what people call cleanup skills, which are your not super important skills. This is your cleanup skill because the damage is always high and doesn't get lowered during the cooldown. You are going to be using this all the time. Make sure you like this skill. This is this here. It does so much damage. And I mean, the cooldown's only 3 seconds and then you just get behind them. Use it again. Use it again. It's never like not available. It does a bazillion damage, guys. It gives you a ton of health back. This is an amazing skill. The only downside to it is only a tier 1 cooldown or a tier 1 skill add-on. That's why we gave it the accuracy and evasion buff. Rapid Stream, this is your shift LMB. This feels very similar to your shift RMB. However, it is not a lot of damage. Okay, I'm going to be honest with you. It is not a lot of damage. However, it is a tier 2 add-on and also a minus 20 DP hit. So attacking versus monsters and attacking and casting speed. This is the first skill you're actually going to use in your cooldown or in your rotation. You're going to do shift LMB and then into shift RMB. These are your first 2 main skills. What most people do, however, is they just do the first 2 hits of Rapid Stream, the punch. So you can just shift LMB into shift RMB and you get the first 2 hits of this, which will give you the DP minus, and then all the hits of Tidal Burst. And that's how most people use it. The little kicking bit at the end of your shift LMB, it doesn't do anywhere near as much damage as the initial 2 punches anyway. It's really not worth using. The only reason I can think where you might need to do this and hold it for the entire duration is if you really need the WP back. Maybe the spirit perfumes are sold out, because this is your main WP generator. So use that. Again, it doesn't give you the WP or the stun or the knockback or anything when it's on cooldown. Cooldown's only 5 seconds. By the end of your skill rotation, this is going to be back up anyway. Rising Dragon. This is our very, very big hitting skill. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of my spirit shards first and show you. Using it without the spirit shards. Oh, it's also our Black Spirit Rage skill. I forgot to have it locked, which you should be using, by the way. Make sure you're using your Black Spirit Rage now because you get the buff even when you use the skill. But that's talking for another video. So if you were to use it without your spirit shards, it's just a punch with a bit of damage. It doesn't do a ton either. As you can see, without the Sea Dragon, it's 1137 times 7, which, isn't, anything to shake a stick at. That's still pretty good damage. But if we do it with it, you can see you punch it and a dragon comes up. That little dragon adds so much damage. This brings us to 1337 times 5 on top of the 1337 times 7 from the initial hit. So it basically doubles the damage of the skill. It also does an additional minus 20 DP. And because of our skill add-ons, we get another minus 15 DP and a 20% critical hit rate, okay? And this skill is one of our most powerful skills. This is our second highest hitting skill besides Wave Orb. And honestly, this skill it's so much quicker too, because Wave Orb, you either have to charge it or you have to cancel it in a certain way. This, you just press Shift Q, just boom. It's just out. The damage is quick, simple, massive damage nuke. Spiral Torpedo. This skill is not known for its damage. This is really good for dashing through mobs. As you can see, there's no character collision. You can dash through as many times as you want. It's on a pretty low cooldown, so it can be used for mobility. But the most important thing is this bad boy right here. 16 AP on dash. And for our skill add-ons, we put on back attack and critical hit damage. The reason why, when you're gathering up your mobs and you're waiting for them, you then dash behind them. Now you have back attack, critical hit damage, and 16 AP from that. Super amazing skill. I don't know how I just opened up the Pearl Shop. This skill is basically, again, repositioning, moving, gains you martial spirit shards as well. AP, great skill, tons of skill points. Okay, I don't know why. The final level of Spiral Torpedo costs 62 skill points. Okay, the skill's kind of cracked when it comes to skill points, but you are going to want to use this, okay? It is very important because of how much damage it gives you. Little ridiculous on the skill points, but definitely worth it. Sea Burial. This is a movement skill and also a damage skill. We're going to use it here with our 3 spirit shards. It's forwards RMB. It's a dash forwards with a punch at the end. Does decent damage and does more damage with the dragon. However, it's important to know that it also has Sea Burial Flow, which applies all of Sea Burial's damage times 4. And what you're going to want to do to do that is you're going to just continue. After Sea Burial, it actually activates automatically now. It used to be that you had to hold RMB. Now it just happens. So as you see there, you punch when you're in the air. That initial punch in the air is the Sea Burial damage. And then the second punch when you hit the ground, like the punching to the ground, that's the Sea Burial damage flow. So Sea Burial flow is the second hit. Now that it activates automatically, I don't got to tell you about it. Before, you used to have to hold RMB. But hey, it's a free bonus 4% or 4 times damage. Really, really good skill. Sea Burial is not used, at least by me, super often during our damage rotation unless the mobs are really, really tanky. So maybe not necessarily the most important skill to level up if you're focusing. Make sure you're getting your Spiral Torpedo up, you're raising dragons in these two. But anyway, I digress. Wave Orb, our big tier 3 skill and our hardest hitting skill. How you normally use Wave Orb is backwards and LMB and RMB at the same time to charge it up. You can continue charging for a while as well, eating stamina, and then you blow the people up. That kick at the end was part of a different skill. I didn't mean to do that, but that's Wave Orb. And if you use it with your 3 Martial Spirit Shards, it does an additional 1442 times 6 with 100% crit rate, and you're going to want to. Okay. Now you can cancel that with a couple different skills. One of the main ones people use is backwards F, which is Hurricane Sweep. It's a minus DP. It also gives you HP per hit. It's a very common way of doing it. However, there are plenty of skills you can use to cancel it. And my personal favorite that I use is actually Raging Wind after we use Dragon Strike. But I'll get into that after. But basically, you can just cancel it. You no longer need to charge it. Kaboom. Ton of damage. Massive damage. And of course, it's our only tier 3 skill add-on. So that's why we have 30 AP versus monsters and attack casting speed on it. Next up, we're going to talk about Gushing Waters. Again, this is the one I said it's on your hotbar. It's a range skill. It's a very quick kick. It does good damage. It also comes out after skills if you continue holding LMB. I don't do that very often. You can use it with certain ones. Like you can use your sideways dash and hold LMB and it'll go off. It's very sort of weird to have it auto activate. I just always use it off the hotbar. It's just my personal preference. I suppose you could use it in certain flows, but I kind of use it as mainly an aggroing skill. And because I'm aggroing with it, I just have critical hit rate and DP minus on it. You might as well have DP minus. You can put whatever you want on that though. It's really up to you. Great skill. This is our new, first off, this was added during reboot. This is our new skill. This is Earth Splitter. This skill is insanely high damage. Okay. This skill is ridiculous. It is 1355 times 10, 30 HP per hits, down smash, down attack, and bound. And it's a simple one hit. Just boom. Big damage, massive damage, and you can flow it into Raging Wind by continuing to hold RMB. Raging Wind is just a regular flow that's a 1414 times 4, but it can also actually, you can hotkey this, which is kind of weird. You can hotkey Raging Wind, and it turns it into a ranged attack, which is kind of weird. You have this wind up and then you can kind of hit it from a distance. I never do that. I have never hotkeyed and used that skill. I don't know why you would do that. It has such a wind up, but as you can see, if I were to use, for example, Earth Splitter, you can use Earth Splitter, have it flow into Dragon Strike, which used to be Dragon Shatter. Now it's just a single punch. Boom. Right? You can flow Earth Splitter into Dragon Strike, into Raging Wind by just holding RMB after back RMB. So you just hold it and it'll literally flow all 3 skills together. That is a huge damage burst. All right. It's 1355 times 10, followed by 1339 times 4. And then 1414 times 4 in like a very quick, like that is not a lot of time at all for that amount of damage. Is kind of insane. I love this skill. It's awesome. I'm so happy with it. And I'm very happy that these all kind of flow together. I kind of miss the old Dragon Strike where it was like, boom, like a big, like sort of rapid fire thing. But hey, what can you do? It's still, it is nice though, because the big boom at the end was most of the damage. Now you don't have to worry about it, but I kind of miss the rapid fire hits. What can I say? So obviously you're going to want all those skills. Double flash. This allows you to flash step twice when you're in your awakening. Obviously you're going to want that. Mobility is mobility. Always good. Dragon Pit. This is pretty much a PvP skill. Just lets you put a big dragon on the ground. It's kind of an iconic mystic skill. And it's really a shame that it doesn't do like any damage in PvE, guys. Like if you're using this skill, like you could be at centaurs and this isn't going to like kill them. Yeah, this is a really weak skill. But it's really convenient because it's a big area of effect. It lasts a while, and if anyone touches it, they get minus 30% movement speed, casting speed, and attack speed. I mean, it's pretty solid overall. I would really not focus on this one if you're, low on skill points. Don't worry about that one. Hurricane Sweep is another one where it's very convenient for canceling skills. It used to be a necessity because we would use it to cancel Wave Orb, like that. But now that you can cancel Wave Orb with Raging Wind and Earth Splitter, it's not really necessary anymore. So this is another skill. It's very good. Again, gives you 200 HP. It's a DP minus. But if you're just PvEing and you're really low on skill points, don't worry about Hurricane Sweep. Dragon Rip is another one. This is like a vacuum ball. You can hold backwards E and it vacuums up and then punches. It does not good damage. I'm going to be honest with you. It doesn't do very good damage. The good news about it, though, is if you're PvEing in an area where the mobs can be CC'd, it is actually a pull. It will vacuum all the mobs in, and then it will actually explode at the end and push them all sort of backwards. Kind of weird, kind of good. I mean, it really depends on you if you like to use it or not. Again, the damage is negligible, so if you really need the CC, I guess it's important. But outside of that, this is another skill you can kind of afford to pass on if you're just PvEing. And then for our core skills, this is really preference. I much prefer Spiral Torpedo. Super Armor during this is really convenient because obviously you're passing through the mobs. You don't want to get interrupted during your 16 AP buff. You don't want to get interrupted by not being able to go behind the mobs, because if that gets canceled, you're going to have to like do one of these bad boys or one of these in order to get behind them. It's kind of annoying when you could just like that. So I keep it on there. You could put it on floating if you're PvPing, for example, on Rising Dragon. Forward guard on Wave Orb isn't like super important. I mean, forward guards, convenient, yes. Important, I prefer it on Spiral Torpedo. As for your skill enhancements, I actually don't have any right now because I am low on skill points. I feel like these could be useful. I know they're insanely strong if you're in succession, but I've really never felt the need to have it. I have plenty of pull skills. You have your Sea Burial, you have your Space Bar, you have your Gushing Waters. Like, I have all the pull skills I need, and they're not going to do enough damage to really justify using them. So get these down the line, obviously, as you max out your pre-awakening skill tree once you have a lot. But if you're not going to, don't worry about it. Don't worry about grabbing them. Not necessary for grinding right now. Now, let's get into the full combo. Now that you know all our skills, you know what we're using, let's get into our skill rotation. So, first thing we're going to use, Shift LMB, our boy, Rapid Stream. So we're going to do Rapid Stream, Tidal Burst, dash behind them with Spiral Torpedo, Rising Dragon, and then hit them with the Earth Splitter, Raging Wind, Dragon Strike combo, and that will cancel into Wave Orb. You have your, you can see my little keys at the top there. So it's Shift LMB. You're going to skip the kick when you do this for real. Okay, so Shift LMB, Shift RMB, dash behind, Shift Q, back RMB, continue holding RMB until the second punch, and then left click for Wave Orb. This will do a gazillion damage to monsters. This skill combo is wild. I can't stress this to you guys enough. And the cooldowns are all very low. You can just do it again. So Shift LMB, dash behind, Shift Q, do your full combo again, back in a Wave Orb. This gets you two very important skills. Your most important one is when you are behind the mobs, you are at your highest damage point. That's when you're going to hit them with our massive 3 Martial Spirit Shard Rising Dragon, which is going to do a ton of damage, but get rid of our 3rd Spirit Shard. And then your full combo of Earth Splitter, Raging Wind, Dragon Strike, Wave Orb will give us 3 Martial Shards before Wave Orb goes off, allowing us to have the Dragon as well on our Wave Orb. So one more time, Shift LMB, Shift RMB, forwards F, Shift Q, wait for that to wear out, and then back RMB, continue holding RMB until the second punch, and then click LMB for Wave Orb. And that's pretty much it, guys. Go up, gather more mobs. Something you want to get into the habit of as well, if you are struggling to keep up your buff, your spacebar buff, your Crouching Wolf buff, you can always do it after you dash behind them before you use Rising Dragon, because it doesn't consume your Spirit Shards. You just have to activate it while you have Spirit Shards. So you can get in the habit of doing that. Shift LMB, Shift RMB, dash behind, spacebar, Shift Q, back RMB, hold RMB, Wave Orb. Now, if the mobs are not dead after that combo, you can actually flow after Wave Orb into Sea Burial as well by holding the forwards RMB. into Sea Burial, into the Sea Burial flow, and then continue cleaning up with just Shift RMB. Again, this skill does massive damage, but doesn't have, it has a cooldown, but the damage doesn't go down during the cooldown. Only the HP recovery does. So, we will say it one more time. Gather up your mobs, gushing waters, stuff like that. I'm going to use Sea Burial to get rid of my Martial Spirit Shards. Use your gushing waters, gather up your mobs, use your spacebar to gather up the mobs, get up to them. Shift LMB, Shift RMB, dash behind, spacebar, Shift Q, back RMB, hold it, Shift LMB, RMB. And then you can maybe follow up with a Sea Burial if you want. That's the whole combo, guys. That's all you're going to do. It's super chill. It gives you a ton of sustain. It does a gazillion damage. Okay, like the amount of damage I'm doing, usually by the first LMB, RMB, I dash behind and then Shift Q. This is enough to kill the monsters at Sakraya, including the big guys, at 270 AP. All right, so even after your Shift Q, that's where that is. And then you can follow up, and this almost becomes a cleanup, even though it's some of your highest damaging skills. But just this into this, the dashing and the Shift Q, will be enough to kill most mobs, and then you can follow up with the second DPS combo. And that's it. That's literally it, guys. That's as easy as Mystic is. Shift LMB, Shift RMB, dash through them, Shift Q, punchy punch combo, boom, follow it up, dash to the next pack, same thing, same thing, same thing, same thing, same thing, same thing, over and over and over again forever. Now, if you're looking for PvP, that's a different story. Find somebody else who actually knows, because I don't know. But if this video helps you out, guys, please let me know in the comment section. I'm curious how much you are liking Awakening Mystic this week, this month, this year, ever since the buffs. Now, do I think she could have a couple buffs? Sure. Honestly, Infinite Fortitude is really, really good. I think Tranquility could definitely be buffed. The skill kind of sucks. Spiral Torpedo could have its, its skill requirements to be a lot lower, because I think 62 skill points for a 16 AP buff is kind of insane. I would like it if Dragon Rip did damage as well. Like, if that skill could do damage, that would be super nice. But hey, you take what you can get. But I mean, at least we get to play the coolest class in the game. Look at her. Look how cool this chick is. She's so cool, man. Like, the water effects, the dragons, the punches, the explosions, the flying around, the boom, the... Alright, guys, so hopefully you enjoyed today's video. If you did, one more time, don't forget to check out the Twitch channel, twitch.tv/DungeoneersTV. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the YouTube video. We got an insane series coming, boys, okay? I am working on this one for a while. It's gonna be awesome. You're gonna love it. Stay tuned. We'll see you in the next one. And if the video helped, guys, please let me know. I really appreciate it. Have a great night, and we will see you in the next video. Peace out.